me, "Oh my God, you look beautiful."
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate. Today is going to be like a very, very mind blowing session. This is usually the crux of greatness. A lot of people that have found greatness, this is how they started. Our topic today is stop copying, how to find your voice. One of the things I've realized is that in this generation, there is a lot that is going on, a lot of information. There's barely a thing that anyone wants to do now that they can't find information about. That is how much we have grown. Unlike before, that our fathers had to go to 1,001 libraries, searching books, going through shelves to be able to find information. So, like I said, because there's so much information in this day and age, information is even monetized. Everybody is either selling a course, opening a YouTube channel, opening a podcast, doing this and that. Now we see people that blow in quotes, and we want to find out how did they blow. These days, I see a lot of seminars, creators this, creators that. You just get there and you just be like, oh, they'll tell you, okay, tell us your story. How did you make it? How did you become recognizable? How did you become formidable? How did you become a voice? How did you find your voice? And they'll tell you literally the same thing. There's one creators conference that happened recently, and one girl was like talking about how she spent money to go for a conference that she could have just watched a video on YouTube and learned the same thing, because they keep saying the same thing about be consistent, be diligent, be yourself, be authentic. That she already knows those things, that she really wants to know what is their secret. And it was in that place that I realized that this person is in that place of trying to find their voice, trying to know, what do I do, what do I do differently in the midst of the noise? How do I stand out? And that is exactly what we are here to answer. Whatever you think, whatever you're feeling, is actually not something that is unusual. I've been in that place. But the thing is that for you to be able to find your voice, you have to be very, very honest about where you are at the moment. For example, most people that followed Pastor Chris, they were palming their hair. If you go to Deeper Life and you listen to Deeper Life pastors, almost all of them speak slowly, because that is how Pastor W.F. Kumiyu speaks. Because those people follow him, they are now speaking like that. One of the things that changed my life growing up is, if you walk in another man's path, you will never leave your own footprint. So if there's anything that you want that you leave this meeting with, it is the fact that you have to learn to walk in your own path so that you will be able to leave your own footprint. Now, this is not me saying that you should not follow examples or you should not emulate things that you see that are good. No. What I'm saying is this: we have to get to that point where the things that we are emulating, that we don't still lose sight of who we are. And that is why every person that we see that has blown, that is what they did differently. They were able to get to that place where they actually did something different from what others are doing. They didn't want to copy every other person. Of course, there are still principles they are going to copy, but they were able to do something different. It's good to admire people, just like I said, but if you don't add boundaries to it, you will begin to imitate. And if you're imitating it, people can see right through you, because what? You are not sounding like yourself. If I say something like, don't mention, no, we don't do that here, who are you going to think of? Eric. So Genevieve actually went so far. She said Eric. I believe there are a lot of persons that inspired him and that still inspire him. I believe there are a lot of persons he admired, but because he set boundary to, like, okay, these people are really good, but I am also as good as. That was why he was actually able to come to that place where he could find his own voice. So the coaches who feel most anxious about their content are not the ones with the least to say. They are the ones with the most, who have not yet trusted that what they say is enough. If you get to that place, when you are not really certain about who you are, it creates a vacuum and you begin to copy. So copying is a risk management strategy based on us. Since I've not found my own, you know the typical thing, fake it till you make it, or copy others, so do this one, do that one. But you have to learn how to stand out as a person. If you'll be great in life, you have to find your own voice. I want you to remember that while it's actually good to find your voice, try not to reinvent the wheel. There is this story I had a long time ago. But in a military barrack, there was this issue where they'll floor a place, like an area of the barracks, and people will step on it and it will spoil. They have to do it again and again. So because of that, the head of the barracks at the time did the flooring again and set two soldiers to stand beside it so that they can redirect people to avoid people stepping on the flooring. Because they wanted the thing to dry, they stationed those people, so it was their duty post Not long after, the man was transferred out of the barracks. Do you know that subsequent people that led the barracks continued that thing? They continued assigning soldiers to stand at that place, to stand on that ground. They didn't even know why. Like, it was until one person came out, like, why are two soldiers always assigned to stand on this place? And it was in that place that he had to go back to the files, and started searching and searching and searching. And he found out that the reason is because they just wanted that place to dry up so that people don't step on it. And others had come because they saw that it was what was going on. They just followed. Oh, before you came, people are always posted here to man this place. So I have to post people to man this place. So we have to learn how to strike the balance. While we should get to that place where we should not reinvent the wheel, we should also be aware enough to know that sometimes you have to break out of the box to be able to do something significant, outstanding. Identity ambiguity creates a vacuum. So when there is no clear internal answer to what do I actually believe, the mind will never stay empty. Like, there's a saying that nature abhors vacuum. Immediately it realizes that, oh, this is not actually happening. Like, that I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. It begins to fill this space with the loudest voice available. Your voice will become powerful when it is louder internally than everything consumed externally. No one is saying you should not consume other people's content, but when you get to that place where your voice internally is louder than whatever you are consuming externally, you'll be able to find yourself. I remember some years ago, I attended a seminar kind of. RMD was asked, how have you been able to remain relevant through decades, through dispensations and everything? And he said something very interesting. He said that he acts like the eagle, that sometimes he takes a step back to do some introspection, to reflect and know, what am I doing differently? How do I stand out and be known as ROMD? But that if he keeps going with the noise, everybody is doing this, everybody is doing, if you don't do this, that fear of missing out, they call it FOMO. That fear of missing out, that he'll be consumed with the noise and he'll not be able to find out that distinct thing that makes him ROMD. So if there's one thing I pray this evening in the name of Jesus, it is that everybody that's attended this webinar who has not found themselves or who is still in that place of trying to find clarity will find clarity and find their own voice in Jesus' name. Amen. No one can replicate being you. No one can do that. I know that a lot of us are usually scared of rejection. Is anybody going to like me? Is anybody going to like me? Do you know what I've realized over time now? I've realized that see, just find yourself on what you want to believe or stand for, then start making noise about it. Start shouting it, start louding it. With time, people are just, they might reject you in the first place. I beg, who are you? Who do you think you are? I beg, go and sit down. But on the long run, they are going to be like, let's start listening to this person now. I'm telling you the gospel truth. If you can be able to do this exercise and sit down and actually introspect and say, oh, this is actually what you are going to do, you'll find out that by the time you get it and you start louding it, people will listen by force. And do you know why people even want to listen? Because you're not copying anyone, you are speaking from your own lens. When we're talking about a voice, what is a voice? Some people will think it's a tone, a vocabulary, a style, that it is a presentation. But one thing we have to understand is that your voice is beyond tone, is beyond vocabulary, is beyond style. It is the residue of your life filtered through your convictions, expressed in service of a specific person. It is not manufactured. What have you come to believe? I heard something about someone, the person said, like, a very successful man, a speaker, went for a conference. So he was supposed to go for lunch with his daughter. He now met a very, very successful man that he's been planning to meet or hoping to meet. And the man was like, oh, can we have lunch after this? Meanwhile, his daughter was in the crowd waiting for him. That's the speaker's daughter was in the crowd waiting for him. When his daughter heard it, she felt like, oh, my dad is going to go for this person. He's a big man now. Like, this is somebody that can change his life. Do you know what he said? No, can we reschedule? I have already promised my daughter that we are going for lunch and I can't reschedule with her. Do you know why that man was able to do that? He was able to do that because he has had a conviction that family comes first, no matter who and what is involved. So you have to get to that place of conviction. That is what your voice is all about. The residue of your life, bits and pieces. When you're talking about residue, bits and pieces of your life. What have you come to believe? Who do you want to become? Someone told me something some years ago. He said, live your life from end to beginning. Anything you are doing, let's say you are in a leadership position. At the end of the day, who do you want people to know you as? What do you want people to say? Let's say you want people to say, oh, that you are such an inspiration to your generation. Then you now come back to day one and start asking yourself, what do I do now, today? So that in the next 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, when people are talking about me, they'll say, oh, this girl, this woman, this boy, this man was a voice of my generation. So you have to get to that place of conviction that I want to be this kind of person. Until you get to that place, you'll find out that you'll be struggling with a lot of things. So, what is voice? I have this framework now called 5 components of an authentic power voice. V stands for viewpoint, O stands for origin, I stands for idiom, C stands for conviction, and E stands for edge. Viewpoint, by the time you find your voice, what is your viewpoint, or what we call POV, point of view now, in Gen Z language? A real voice has a position. It has a position whereby the person is standing gidigba to say, this is what I believe in. It doesn't matter if any other person does not believe in it. Some years ago, was it not the last World Cup that Qatar hosted? They were telling them, make sure anything you're doing, there'll be no alcohol. You're not flying LGBT flag. I don't care who FIFA thinks they are. We are not going to, we're a Muslim country, respect us. So a real voice, your real voice has to have a position, because they say if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. That is what having a voice looks like. There are people that are like that, like they've decided that this is not who I am, this is not my kind of thing. So no matter what every other person does, no matter how cool it looks, no matter how in vogue it looks, it doesn't matter. They have a strong stand and position on it. Then O stands for origin. There's this saying that we are usually a product of nature and nurture. Most times your voice usually comes from the experiences you have. Some of us, the families we're born to, is not our making. But then how about now? What are you doing about it now? Are you still blaming your family, your parents, or this or that? There are people I don't follow on social media, to be very honest. Not because they are bad people, but because I don't want to become like them. And because I don't want to become like them, I don't follow them, I don't listen to them. That is my way of curating my own experience. By curating that experience, I'll be able to come up to that place where I stand for something, I have a voice. And that voice will not be swallowed or drowned. I stands for idiom, the natural way ideas are expressed. Someone like me, you cannot listen to me and I'll not tell you a story. I'm a storyteller. Because I found out that that's one of the ways I remember things clearly. I don't know if anyone has listened to someone like one whole hour, and you find out that after listening to that person, like the next day, you can't even remember anything the person said. But realize that when you tell a story and use it to marry or to drive home a point, you find out that people are likely to remember it. Because I'm that kind of person, I've found my voice, and I know that storytelling is how I remember, and I've realized that storytelling is how a lot of persons remember too. So because of that, I always use it. So that's idiom, the natural way ideas are expressed. C is conviction, the certainty of what is being said. There's somebody that will be talking to you about something, person, oh, this person is not really sure. You have to get to that place of certainty. Then the last but not the least is E. E stands for edge, the angle of entry, the way a common conversation is approached differently. So edge is usually an intersection of belief, experience, and audience. What do you believe? What have you experienced? And who are you saying this thing to? There's somebody there's a place I'll go to now. What I'll be marketing to them is not book. Maybe it's a drink or a clothes. Because, well, I will study my audience and know what they want, what they prefer, before I'll start talking to them about any other thing. So these are the 3 practical tools to actually find your voice. The first one is the conviction test. If you're in a place to know that you are convinced about something, if nobody agrees to anything, will you still be convinced? If your answer is yes, then you know you're truly convinced. But if your answer is no, then you know you are performing, like you are copying someone else. And today we are telling ourselves no more copying. Then number 2 is the origin of the statement. So this one is like the spine. After the conviction test, you still have the experiences like I already explained before. Then number 3 is the friction audit. Here you review recent content. Notice whether your ideas were softened or diluted. I remember something that happened in my first year in school. Like, I'm someone that usually covers up and everything. But one day, one girl invited us for a beauty pageant. So we went as her classmates. Do you know that there was this gown I wore? It was this elastic gown. And so it has tendency of going up. Like, if you walk a bit, it goes up. So you have to be dragging it down. Do you know that gown, when I was on the campus, like, I kept dragging it down. So we entered a bus and went to Owerri. I think, is it Concord Hotel or something in Owerri? And when we got to Owerri, I saw people, girls. Hey! I saw them like this, and they were looking, some of them literally half naked. And because of the environment I had entered, that gown that I was dragging down on campus because I felt it was short became like a full gown, a regalia, like very long gown. Because the environment I had entered at the time was an environment where half covering was prevalent. So that's why it's very important to control what goes into your mind. Most times when we are not able to find our voice, it's not a voice problem, it's a permission problem. We're waiting for people to give us permission. So clarity does not come before speaking, it comes during speaking, through speaking rather. So the people who impacted you do not do so because they were perfect, they did so because they were true to themselves. So you can do that to yourself, be true to yourself, to thy own self be true. So there are people who understand something from the first time because it came through your words. There are people that is only your own that they will want to listen to. See, there is this person, Pastor Delabo. He speaks so gently, which is unusual for like a typical Pentecostal pastor. But people are like, I like how he talks gently. So imagine he came out and said, oh, every pastor usually kabashish, gaga, 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 he will not, he will be drowned. So I need you to stop copying. The word has enough echoes. What it needs is your original voice. Go and use it. And how can you find it? The first thing I said is what? Introspection. It's something that you have to do yourself. After discovering who you are, you now ask yourself, who do I want to become? By the time you ask yourself these two questions, you now ask yourself the third question, what do I do to become that person? After the third question, you ask yourself, if no other person believes in me or believes in this thing that I believe in, am I still going to believe in myself? If you get to that place, you realize that this whole thing of finding your voice will be easier than you think. I want to thank you all for joining today. And I also want to believe that we've been able to get to that place where we'll be able to know how to find our voice and stop copying others. Remember, he that walks in another man's track does not leave his own footprint.
Thank you very much for everything you've shared. Like, I've heard a lot of things this night that I've never heard in my life before.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Especially
you.
the tests apply, because I'm also into content creation
Mm,
and I've never really heard about this test. So I understood the conviction test, I understood the origin of statement, but I didn't quite get the friction of this test. Miss Ma, can you explain it again? And there was something you said about revealing the real. I didn't really get that one too.
Sorry,
What you were talking about.
revealing the what?
I didn't get it quite well. I think it was revealing the real. You were saying something around revealing the real.
She asked about the three practical tools that we mentioned earlier, the friction audit. The further explanation I can give about that is when you are confused about something, it does not mean that everybody is going to agree with you. Some persons are never going to agree with you. Some persons are going to oppose you. And it doesn't mean you are wrong. It doesn't mean that what you're saying is incorrect. So you have to get to that point. The friction, the word says friction audit, where you're able to actually ask yourself, this person that is opposing me, why are they opposing me? All right, is it because what I'm saying is wrong or not? Sometimes it's even what you even tell yourself, because me, I've had times that I've told myself like very wrong things about myself. I had to ask myself, where did I get this information from? I remember talking to one of my mentors. He was like, Kate, who told you that you are naked? Typically that question God asked Adam. Adam, where are you? He said, I heard your voice and I hid because I'm naked. God now asked him, who told you that you're naked? So sometimes you do it to yourself, sometimes others do it to you. When you review, you now ask yourself, why did I get to this place? For everything that happens, there is a why. If I don't think I am smart, why do I think I'm not smart? How did it start? At what point did I start thinking it? The way it relates with respect to voice is what you review the content you are watching, the things you are consuming. That's why I talked about review or control what goes into your mind. I don't know if that's clearer now.
I think it was when you were talking about having to break out of the box to do something eventful.
Oh, okay, reinventing the wheel. Okay, let's say you want to use your laptop now. If you want to use it, what's the first thing you do? Maybe you flip it open.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's say that you want to invent something, a better laptop. The invention does not necessarily mean that you now do one that to use it you close it, then to not use it you open it, like doing the opposite of what is already done. It's basically telling you, since everybody knows this is how this thing is done, how about you follow it but still be unique in your own way? For example, some years ago, if they told anyone that you will be able to be making phone calls with mobile phones, they won't even agree, not talk of video call where you can see people thousands away. Whoever invented phones, we can still use it to make call just like the former phones. So they didn't reinvent the wheel, they just gave us a better experience. Instead of trying to create new wheels, that is WHEELS, use the ones that already work and just make it better, faster, smoother, cheaper, more valuable.